In the ferocious tide of World War II, the Pacific Ocean was more than a vast expanse. It was a battleground that decided the fate of nations. After Japan's lightning attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, the Imperial Japanese Navy seemed invincible, sweeping through the Philippines to the Indian Ocean. Led by the brilliant Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Japan dominated the region, forcing America to retreat and regroup. But just 6 months later, in early June 1942, a small speck on the map, the Battle of Midway, became a monumental turning point. Here, the U.S. Navy, with unyielding spirit and 6 key weapons, turned the tide. This is not a story of superior numbers of ships or planes, but of a perfect blend of technology, intelligence, heroic sacrifice, and strategic timing. For baby boomers and Gen X, those raised on the legacy of World War II veterans, hearing grandparents recount sleepless nights worrying about loved ones at sea. This battle evokes deep patriotism, the memory of ancestors who fought for freedom, and the lesson that courage can change history. In this article, we dive deep into the 6 key weapons: intelligence and JN-25 code-breaking U.S. aircraft carriers, USS Enterprise, USS Hornet, USS Yorktown, Grumman F-4, F Wildcat fighters, TBD Devastator torpedo bombers, Douglas SBD, Dauntless dive bombers, and coordinated tactics with precise attack timing. These were not just steel and engines. They were symbols of resilience, propelling America from defense to offense and leading to ultimate victory in the Pacific. To understand the role of these key weapons, we must first set the stage. Pearl Harbor left America reeling. 8 major battleships sunk or damaged, over 2,400 lives lost, and the Pacific Fleet severely weakened. Japan, driven by its decisive battle doctrine, Kantai Kessen, aimed to eliminate the remaining U.S. forces to dominate the Pacific. Yamamoto, a brilliant strategist who studied at Harvard and understood America's industrial might, knew time was against Japan. He planned to seize Midway Atoll, a tiny but strategic outpost, 1,300 nautical miles from Hawaii, as a springboard to attack the U.S. mainland and lure the American fleet into a decisive battle. Japan mobilized a massive force: 4 elite aircraft carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, with over 200 planes, plus dozens of battleships, cruisers, and destroyers. Japanese carriers, like Akagiya, converted battlecruiser-carried Mitsubishi A6M0 fighters, unmatched in speed and agility, alongside Nakajima B, 5N torpedo bombers, and Aichi D-3A dive bombers. These represented the pinnacle of Japan's naval air power, crewed by seasoned pilots from prior campaigns. But Japan was unaware of America's invisible advantage: the first key weapon, intelligence, and JN-25 code-breaking. JN-25, Japan's naval cipher, was a complex system with thousands of rotating codes. The U.S. intelligence team at Station Hypo in Pearl Harbor, led by Joseph Rochefort, a Japanese language expert with an eccentric style, often seen in a bathrobe and slippers, spent months cracking it. Using early computers and manual analysis, they identified AF as Midway through a clever ruse, sending a fake message about a water shortage at AF, which Japan echoed in their coded replies. Thanks to JN-25, Admiral Chester Nimitz knew Japan's entire plan, timings, routes, and targets. This wasn't a physical weapon, but a weapon of the mind, transforming Midway from a Japanese trap into an American ambush. Rochefort's team, working tirelessly with just hours of sleep, embodied the silent sacrifice behind the battlefield. This context builds tension. Japan brimmed with confidence, but America, with intelligence as its foundation, had 6 key weapons ready to strike back. Meanwhile, America swiftly reorganized. The second key weapon aircraft carriers became the core of its forces. The U.S. had only 3 carriers. USS Enterprise, Yorktown class, 827 feet long, carrying 90 planes. USS Hornet, newly commissioned, 85 planes. And USS Yorktown, heavily damaged at the Coral Sea, but repaired in a frantic 72-hour effort at Pearl Harbor. These ships were not just platforms for launching planes, but symbols of U.S. naval technology. Wide flight decks, CXAM-1 radar detecting planes 100 miles away, and steel hulls that withstood heavy fire. Protected by cruisers and destroyers, they formed agile task forces. American pilots, though less experienced than their Japanese counterparts, were rigorously trained in teamwork. And these carriers carried 3 critical aircraft: Wildcats, Devastators, and Dauntlesses, the key weapons that would decide Midway's outcome. On June 3, 1942, Japan's fleet approached Midway from the northwest. USPBY Catalina scout planes, aided by carrier radar, spotted them from afar. This was the moment for the third key weapon, Grumman F-4F Wildcat fighters. Introduced in 1940, the Wildcat reached 318 miles per hour, mounted 6 .50 caliber machine guns, and featured self-sealing fuel tanks for durability. Though slower and less agile than the Zero, 331 miles per hour, longer range, the Wildcat compensated with ruggedness and firepower. Pilots like Lieutenant Commander John Thatch developed the Thatch Weave, a crisscrossing maneuver that let Wildcats cover each other, turning weakness into strength. On the carriers, Wildcats guarded the skies, ready to clash with Zeros in fierce dogfights. The fourth key weapon, TBD Devastator torpedo bombers, was also prepped. First flown in 1935, the Devastator was America's initial monoplane torpedo bomber, 35 feet long, with a top speed of 206 miles per hour when loaded with a 2,200-pound Mark 13 torpedo, 33 knots. By 1942, it was outdated, slow, vulnerable, and plagued by faulty torpedoes that often misfired or veered off course. Yet it remained vital for attacking large ships, skimming low over the waves to launch torpedoes. The Hornet's VT-8 squadron, led by Lieutenant Commander John Waldron, had 15 Devastators, embodying heroic sacrifice. Pilots knew the risks, but flew anyway. The fifth key weapon, Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bombers, was the true star. Named Dauntless for its fearlessness, this 1938 design was 33 feet long, hit 255 miles per hour, and carried a 1,000-pound bomb under its fuselage, plus 2 smaller bombs under the wings. Its hallmark, near vertical, 70 to 80 degrees, dive bombing from 15,000 feet, using perforated flaps to control speed, achieving pinpoint accuracy within 100 feet. Proven at the Coral Sea, Dauntlesses from Enterprise and Yorktown were poised to make history at Midway. Pilots like Lieutenant Clarence Dick Best, with hundreds of flight hours, captured the spirit. I felt the wind scream through the wings, my heart pounding, but I knew that bomb could change the war. Finally, the sixth key weapon coordinated tactics and attack timing was meticulously planned by Nimitz. Using JN-25 intelligence, the U.S. aimed for a synchronized strike. Devastators would draw Japan's combat air patrol cap low, Wildcats would protect, and Dauntlesses would dive from above. The critical moment hit when Japanese carriers were rearming, their decks littered with fuel and bombs. But initial coordination faltered due to weather and navigation errors, building tension. Could America seize the moment? At 4:30 a.m. on June 4th, Japanese planes launched from their 4 carriers, targeting Midway. A-6 M-Zeros roared through the pre-dawn sky, bombs raining fire on the U.S. base. Anti-aircraft guns on the island roared back, but the damage was severe. Dozens of Marine Corps planes were destroyed on the ground. Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo, commanding Japan's carriers, was pleased with the initial strike and ordered his planes rearmed with torpedoes to target the U.S. fleet, a hesitant decision that would prove fatal. The conflict escalated. Japan held the upper hand, but America's 6 key weapons were poised for a counterstrike. At 7 a.m., U.S. scout planes spotted the Japanese fleet 180 miles away. Nimitz ordered an immediate attack. The 6th key weapon coordinated tactics kicked into gear, though initially chaotic. Squadrons from Hornet and Enterprise launched, 15 Devastators from Hornet, 35 Dauntlesses from Enterprise, and Wildcats escorting. Salty sea wind stung pilots' faces as they flew into danger. At 9:20 a.m., the 4th key weapon TBD Devastator struck first. Led by John Waldron, Hornet's VT-8 squadron skimmed the waves to evade radar. Engines thundered, waves splashed beneath. But Japan's Zero Cap swooped like hawks, machine guns blazing. Waldron shouted into the radio, "We hit them, or we die trying!" In 10 minutes, all 15 Devastators were shot down, with only Ensign George Gay surviving, floating in the ocean with a life raft, witnessing the battle unfold. The Devastator's slow speed and lack of armor made it a sitting duck, but its sacrifice was strategic. It pulled Japan's 40 Zeros low, leaving carrier decks exposed, stacked with fuel and bombs. This was when the 4th key weapon proved its strategic value, despite heavy losses. At 9:55 a.m., Devastators from Enterprise, VT-6, and Yorktown, VT-3, attacked. They met the same fate. VT-6 lost 10 of 14. VT-3 lost 10 of 12. Pilots like Lieutenant Lance Massey of VT-3 flew through fear, dropping torpedoes that often failed due to faulty Mark 13s. Their losses bought time, forcing Nagumo to delay rearming, increasing the carrier's vulnerability. Then, at 10:22 a.m., the 5th key weapon SBD Dauntless delivered a historic blow. From Enterprise, Squadron VB-6, 37 planes, led by Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey, and VS-6, 17 planes, dove from 20,000 feet. McCluskey, nearly out of fuel after navigation errors, spotted a Japanese destroyer's oil slick and followed it to the fleet. He ordered the attack. Dick Best targeted Akagi. His Dauntless plunged vertically, wind shrieking, adrenaline surging. His 1,000-pound bomb hit Akagi's bomb storage, igniting a fireball like a volcano. Simultaneously, Yorktown's 17 Dauntlesses hit Soryu and Kaga. In 6 minutes, 3 Japanese carriers were infernos. Akagi sank with 263 dead, Kaga 811, Soryu 711. The Dauntless, with its unmatched dive-bombing precision, sank more ships than any World War II aircraft, proving its decisive role. The 3rd key weapon, F-4F, Wildcat, played a vital support role. From Yorktown, 6 Wildcats escorted VT-3, downing several Zeros in intense dogfights. Machine guns echoed. Black smoke trailed. Despite losses, Wildcats distracted Japan's cap, giving Dauntlesses free rein. But the battle wasn't over. At noon, Japan retaliated. Planes from Hiryu, the last Japanese carrier, struck Yorktown. Bombs and torpedoes hit. Fires raged. American sailors, with heroic resolve, fought to save their ship. At 5 p.m., Enterprise's Dauntlesses found Hiryu and dove, destroying it. Wildcats shot down more Zeros. The 6th key weapon attack timing was perfect. Strikes hit when Japanese carriers were most vulnerable, their decks cluttered with fuel and ordnance. By June 7th, Japan retreated. They lost 4 carriers, 1 cruiser, 305 planes, and 3,057 men, a blow Japan's limited industry couldn't recover from. America lost Yorktown, 1 destroyer, 150 planes, and 307 men. The U.S. carriers, though Yorktown sank, proved resilient. Enterprise and Hornet fought on until the war's end. The strategic impact was seismic. Midway halted Japan's advance, paving the way for the Guadalcanal campaign and America's counteroffensive. The 6 key weapons: intelligence foreseeing the enemy, carriers as platforms, wildcats guarding the skies, devastators sacrificing to clear the way, dauntlesses sinking ships, and tactics coordinating the strike combined flawlessly, proving brains and bravery trumped numbers. Midway teaches us that history is forged not just by weapons, but by the people wielding them. Intelligence reminds us of the power of the mind, carriers of a steadfast foundation, wildcats of resilience, devastators of sacrifice, dauntlesses of precision and courage, and tactics of the art of timing. Like our ancestors who faced the inferno of war, we must meet today's challenges with intellect and unity. Reflect on this. Midway's victory honors those who fell, a patriotic legacy we must pass to future generations, keeping their courage alive.